What is up, Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. And on today's episode, I'm going to be talking about why what you used to do does not work anymore. But before we dig in, if you've been listening to the podcast, enjoying the show, if you could rate the show, share the show, or subscribe, that just helps me help more people, which is the goal of this show. So thank you for listening. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is a trap that I fall into a lot. A lot of the clients that I work with are high performers in some capacity. So either they were like former athletes, elite athletes, collegiate athletes, or, top level athletes in high school, ended up being successful in their business ventures or just business in general and work life because they're very hardworking, driven individuals. And oftentimes they used to be in shape. They used to feel athletic and good and very capable. But as we age, we get more responsibilities, and it makes it harder to do the things that we used to do. And even if we do the things that we used to do, they don't often always work. Usually they don't work at all. And that's for a lot of reasons. And this is something that I've fallen into, and a lot of my clients do. And they're just like, I don't understand why what I used to do doesn't work anymore. And here's why. You're not the same person you were 20, 30 plus years ago, even 10. Like me, it's like 6 years ago. And I can't do what I used to be able to do because I have more responsibilities. I run a business. I'm married. I have parents and in-laws that are aging that have had a variety of health issues that we've had to help them with. We're only children, so it's kind of all on our plate, so to speak. No, we don't have kids yet, but that's another thing. A lot of my clients have children. When you have kids, that is a big part of your life. That's a lot more stress on your plate, a lot more stuff you have to handle. So even the time that you had available is not quite there. And if you were an elite level athlete, you probably used to work out 2+ hours a day. That is just not feasible anymore. And as I've talked about a lot on this show, stress, our body can only handle so much stress, and it sees all stress as the same. So when you were in college or high school and you were, exercising for 2 to 4 hours a day, all you had to worry about was yourself. Most likely you didn't have a job. You did not have kids. You did not really have any other responsibilities except to yourself. So that makes a huge difference, really. And looking back, there is no way that I could even do what I used to do, even a couple years ago, with all the other things that I have going on. And like I said, everything's a stress. So work, responsibilities, children, marriage, maybe you own a home, finances, which didn't have to worry about in high school, and usually not really in college either. All of those add more stress to your stress bucket. So the amount of activity that you used to do to lose the weight or build muscle or get leaner, you can't do that anymore because you have more of your stress bucket is already full. So if you overfill it, you're going to see negative repercussions. You're probably going to have worse sleep, which is going to hinder your ability to recover. You're probably going to have a lot of cravings because your body is like, what the hell, dude? I cannot handle that right now. And I'm stressed. And if you're not sleeping well and you're stressed, that can cause dysregulated hunger and fullness hormones, leptin and ghrelin. So that can cause you to overeat. So it could be it could create a negative cycle. And really, what I wanted to emphasize is The person that you were in high school and college is way different from the person that you are today as an adult. And so what you used to do doesn't work because you're different. Your body is different too. You've aged. So your hormones have shifted. You have less bioavailable testosterone in your body because as we age, we lose testosterone. Testosterone's very important for recovery. Your body is just slightly less resilient. It's not resilient, but as I said, with all the other stressors, your body already has more of a burden than it used to. And if you've been pushing your body to an intense degree for decades without seeing any results and maybe even doing a lot of extreme diets along the way, your body has been under quite a bit more than that, teenage body of yours, to where it doesn't really want to deal with that anymore. It doesn't want to go through those extreme diets and extreme workout programs. So it's going to try to get you to not do that, or it's going to show you that, hey, this thing that you're doing, it's going to injure you. So stop. And sometimes they get injured. I have a lot of clients that start working with me and they're in their late 40s, early 50s, and they either just got injured or a couple weeks in they get injured, not because of what I'm doing. This has happened the past couple weeks. I've had 3 clients that just started with me that got injured, but because of what they had done before. Because if you just start working with somebody and you get injured, it's not the stuff that they're having you do. I do mobility assessments with all my clients to make sure that the movements that they can handle them. So anyway, that point being, if you've underfueled your body for decades, if you've pushed your body to the brink of exhaustion for decades, your body that you have now is not the body that can handle the amount of intensity that you used to put on it. And the amount of stress that you have is a lot more than that young version of yourself. So what does work? That's where a good coach comes into play. Because even myself, I was doing things wrong for a while until I got my coach. Not because I don't know what to do, but because I misinterpreted the amount that my body could handle with all the other things going on in my life. And 2025 was a stressful year, to say the least. If you want to hear more about it, just hit me up on social media or scroll back through my podcasts. I've talked about a lot of the events a lot. A lot of family health issues. We got a home. I left a stable job to coach full time. What a whirlwind. But yeah, all of that stress that was new, that was not something I had had before, made it so the amount of training volume that my body could handle is quite a bit less. Even though what I was doing worked before, it wasn't working anymore. My body needed more recovery in between training sessions. I always push to 110, 120% intensity because I am a former D1 athlete, and that is all that I know. And one of my biases is I assume that most people push to intensity. That is not the case. But that is why I've gotten injured quite a bit and oftentimes used to struggle with recovering. Now, I have no problem. I train 4 days a week. Usually it's an upper, lower, anterior, posterior split. Usually 2 compound lifts a workout, really pushing strength and intensity for a couple sets, and then a couple accessory movements. And that is the perfect dose for me. I am at maintenance, so I'm not chasing fat loss right now. My body is resting and just hopefully doing a slow recomp. I don't know. I'm just at maintenance and I'm pushing training. I'm fueling my body. I have stable energy, sleep's improving. But what I used to do, I used to train 6 days a week and I would do double days and I could handle it because the load of other parts of life were not very high. I wasn't married. I didn't have a home. I didn't have a business to run. I just worked a stable job or internship and didn't really have anybody else to worry about but myself. So it was a lot easier to handle that. And so anyway, point being, now I train 4 days a week. I do cardio twice a week. Well, maybe 3 times. Sometimes Sunday I'll go and I'll walk on incline before church and get a nice sauna session in because it's calming to me. But really, like 2 cardio sessions a week, 4 training days, and I probably train for about an hour 15. Cardio days are like 45 minutes, so maybe 6 hours a week of training. And just getting steps in throughout the day, going on walks, getting sunlight. That's what I do now. I used to work out 4+ hours a day when I was in college. If I did that now, my body could not handle that. And I'm only 6 years older than I was when I used to do that. And the reason I'm explaining my story and where I'm at is because what I used to do is I would just copy what I used to do when I was lean. But it didn't work because who I am now is different from who I was then. The amount of things I have on my plate are a lot different from what I had then. So, if you've been struggling and your tendency is to try what used to work for you and that's not working anymore, this is why. And that's why for me having a coach has been so beneficial, especially a coach that understands, metabolic health. I had lingering gut health issues that I needed resolved too, that I kind of knew, but I didn't. So, and that also impacts your body's ability to handle, any type of stressor and recover appropriately. So that is why having a coach is so beneficial, because we can see from a third-party perspective all of the stuff that you have on your plate that you might just think is normal, that you might not be considering, and create an appropriate training protocol and nutrition plan for you to help you get your results the most effective way possible for you in your current state of life. Because as I said, you now is different from you 20 years ago. Even different from you 5 years ago. Even different from you of last year. Because life is ever changing, and as we age, priorities shift, responsibilities shift. So, stop trying to do what used to work because it's not going to work anymore. But if you're not certain about what you need to do to make that shift, that is when investing in a coach is going to be beneficial, because a coach is going to help you skip that guesswork and help you fast track your results, because we can see from a third party perspective, hey, I actually have a plan for you. I know exactly what you need to do to get here, and I'm going to help you walk that path so you can get the results that you want. And I'm going to hold you accountable to it because you told me you want to do this. And that's my job. And we make adjustments when priorities shift or things change. So, if you're in a place where you've tried a lot of things, you've tried to do the things that you did before, they're not working anymore, you've tried countless different diets, maybe even you've hired a coach before, but you didn't see the results, I'd be more than happy to set up a time to chat, because oftentimes, and there are a lot of coaches out there, but there aren't a lot of good coaches that fully understand how training and nutrition and stress and lifestyle and all the things impact your metabolic health. And so that's why I like my coach is awesome, because he went through the same program that I went through. And working with him has opened my eyes, but also going through that same program has allowed me to fully understand like why most people do not see the results that they want and why they have to work so hard to make changes. You shouldn't have to work so hard. Oftentimes, if you feel like you're running up against a brick wall and you just can't seem to make any progress, it's probably because there's something underlying that you don't see or that needs to be addressed first. Like my gut health issue. When I addressed my gut health, boom, building muscle, leaning out, really easy. Really easy. Because my body's actually using the food that I'm consuming on a regular basis. When I wasn't, it was really hard for me to lose weight. I had kind of plateaued. I wasn't eating that much when I hired my coach. Probably like 2,300 calories was all I was eating. And I'm 6 feet tall. I was like 185 pounds or something. And I wasn't losing weight. Now I'm maintaining at around 2,700 calories. And I'm fairly active, right? Like I train 6 days a week, 2 cardio days, I get 10 to 12,000 steps a day, but that's like 400 to 500 calories more than I ate before because my body's in a healthy spot. And I've built more muscle on my frame because my body can do that now. So anyway, point being, if you're stuck, I know I can help. We might not be the best fit. I have a lot of coach friends that are great that I would recommend. But if you've been listening to my podcast and you're interested and you're like, hey, look, I need some help. I'm tired of trying to troubleshoot this myself. I want to hire a professional who can help me get from point A to point B the most effective way possible. Then just set up a time to chat. Click the link below, set up a discovery call. We can chat, see if we'd be a good fit. And then if we do, we can set up a longer, kind of more consultation sort of call and move on from there. But otherwise, if you're not ready, that's totally fine too. I will be here when you're ready. And in the meantime, hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this gave you some insight on why what you used to do doesn't work anymore and why you probably need to be more mindful of the amount of training you're doing and the training intensity and the other stressors that are in your life. So anyway, thank you for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, if you could share the show, rate the show, or subscribe, that just helps me get in front of more people, which is the goal of the show, because the more people that hear this, the more people I help. So anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.